Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Crypto Night Show. Your host Superman in the house. Hope everybody is doing well out there. Well, we've got quite the show for you today. Hopefully, you guys are going to really enjoy it. We're going to be getting into obviously the preferred stocks, the digital credits for Bitcoin. We're going to have a look at the results and some of the drama overnight with that. Obviously, it's been a key priority for us following that. But we're also going to do something really cool. We're going to look at some of the secrets explored for Bitmine immersion, and perhaps have a few perspectives that you may not have heard before, and where I think that's possibly going. So I hope you guys enjoy that. If you guys haven't subscribe on the way in on YouTube, streaming on 3 YouTube channels, and also we're on X Live, so don't forget to, it's pinned to the top. Don't forget to smash the follow button on X, and also repost the show with the double arrows there. I can see someone's already done that straight out of the gate, so nice work there. Secrets explored, Bitmine and the future of Ethereum, and Pulsechain. So we're going to get into all that. It's going to be, I think, pretty fun discussion, and hopefully you'll hear a few things that maybe you haven't heard before. All right, so let's get into the show. We're obviously going to cover Pulsechain and see what is hot on there as well, including Bitcoin and Ethereum. So it's going to be, usual fulsome show. As we had a bit of a pullback again for the second day there, following the Federal Reserve slightly more hawkish positioning that people may have not expected. Although I'm still a little bit open on that, given the fact that what the chair, Wash, said was essentially what I expected him to say. And we'll see what happens in the next few months after they've done some of these working groups and repositioning there. So going to be pretty interesting. I think it's going to be more dramatic than people think, particularly around underlying inflation and deflation coming up from a lot of AI, robotics and things like that coming in the future. So I think we're going to be repositioning for the intelligence age there in the United States with the Federal Reserve. All right, so let's get into it. If you're not in the comments here, don't forget to get in the comments, say hello, and all that good stuff. But let's break down the stock market results overnight. And it was a pretty green night over the stock market. So green crystals, as they say. Let's get into all that. So the S&P rises. So the Standard & Poor's Index rises 1%. NASDAQ gains nearly 2% as US-Iran peace deal boosts the sentiment overall. So following, obviously, the Federal Reserve. So we've got the Dow Jones, and it's got the top 30 industrials in it. It is up 0.14%, 72 points to 51,564. And if we look at our little chart on the top right there, we can see we're just off the all-time highs, which is pretty cool, from Wednesday. So this is Thursday's results. So we're just off the all-time highs there. S&P 500 is up 1%. Is it up 80 points to 7,500? And we can see that's off the all-time highs there not too long ago on the Tuesday. Pretty awesome. The NASDAQ, all the tech companies in it, up 1.9%, almost 500 points to 26,000, I should say, 517. And that's up and away, just off the all-time highs there as well, back on Tuesday. Also, volatile index has fallen 11%. That's pretty significant, down 2 points to 16.4. So we're at the bottom of the range. So if we look at the last year, we can see that we're at the bottom of the range there, risk on environment. And the US dollar there is still appreciating. So stronger US dollar there, 100.67. Remember, that was 108 when Trump came into power as a benchmark there. So very important there. Just one moment. Got a sneeze. It's a bit of fun for the live stream there. Hopefully I don't sneeze too much during the show. Got a bit of a cold going on. Let's jump over to the commodities. We've got West Texas at the moment. It is at $76.60. It's pretty flat at the moment. So that's definitely lost a bit of the risk premium, right? We can see over the last 6 months, we were down here at $55. Obviously, we had the Iranian conflict on, and we are now rolling over. And you guys know the correlation to this was pretty severe to Ethereum. And so this is a hyper bullish moment. And as long as this continues, which it is, it's a long way down. So I think we're not too far away, down maybe about 60% on the way to get ourselves back to 55. Then this is looking very good for Ethereum. So this is, for me, a hyper bullish factor. And so this is pretty exciting. So as long as this continues, we're looking good for this Ethereum later in the year, right? We got net oil on Brent oil is down a third of percent, 25 cents to just below $80. So a bit more work to do there, but that's going pretty well. That was at $60. So we've still got $20 premium in there, but it's way down from 110 or higher, $112. So we're down $30 there, 20 to go. So pretty awesome there. We got gold down. Gold's over the last 6 months. You can see, let's go to the last year gold. Obviously, we had the big rally in gold. That's essentially rolled over. And we're at a pretty critical line here for gold at 4,200. And the next line, of course, is just below 4,396. But you basically just round at 4K. And of course, if it breaks that, wow, that'd be pretty dramatic. Silver is down 2%, $1.40 at $64.89. And you can see that's rolled over too. And we've called this chart pretty well. So we called the run up for the 2 years leading up and the rollover. So that's pretty cool. And I was telling people to take profits, if you recall. So there we go. That was pretty good. So yeah, roll over there. But we had obviously still investors digesting the Fed meeting. Investors seem to have reconciled that the new sheriff heading the Federal Reserve presided over a very hawkish FOMC meeting. And I think that's an overstatement. I think it's kind of, he just wanted to set the status quo. It was a little hawkish, but not, I think, very hawkish. And I suspect that we may see a reversal of that position in the months ahead before the end of the year. So let's keep a lookout for that. The outcome from which shows the odds are balanced that the next policy move could be hike rates as much as hold them steady for the foreseeable future. Now, we're at max. I think we're expecting one rate hike. And that was in the SEP, so the economic forecast there. He's going to be moving away from certain things in terms of possible forecasts, and because the models are pretty bad, and also the press releases as well, like press conferences. So we'll see where he heads with all that. I suggest to you that he's going to revamp the whole inflation index and probably move to underlying inflation and move away from PCE and the CPI data, which is a pretty blunt representation. So we're going to keep a lookout for that. All right. So the outcome of which shows the odds are balanced. And so what I suspect that we're going to see moving forward into the intelligence age as it really rolls out from this year onwards, after all the big investment that got set up last year and flowing in this year, is I suspect that we will start getting that deflationary aspect on prices, and then, and especially with oil going down, and then, of course, a strong economic growth. So we're going to be in the ideal world. And that's, people are going to love that, right? People are going to love that. So it's kind of there at the moment. In the meantime, the signing of the peace deal that has allowed vessels to resume flows through the Strait of Hormuz, reduced oil prices, and boosted confidence that some durable resolution to the war with Iran was at hand. So far, that is holding up, despite some brandish taglines. A resumption of the rally in equity prices, which has been the path of least resistance in the last 2 months, building on what has been a very strong growth. Profit growth, which has now been fortified by the tailwinds of falling energy prices, potentially relieving upward bias in costs and inflation. So we are expecting that to flow through, but given the length of the war, maybe reflect that at maximum, probably less than that period of time. US and Iran signed a peace deal. President Donald Trump inked a memorandum of understanding with Iran during dinner at France's Versailles. I think that's where the end of the World War I, wasn't it? I'm not saying it properly because I've got a bit of a cold, so probably the problem there. Palace, according to an image posted by the White House and a video posted on social media by French President Emmanuel Macron. Of course, you can see that signature there. Speaking to reporters as he left the dinner, Trump, who had been in France for a G7 summit, so the deal had been signed. The move was unexpected, given that a formal signing ceremony between representatives from the US and Iran was slated to take place in Switzerland on Friday. The status of the ceremony is now unclear. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian posted an image of the signed MOU from Tehran's side of social media, calling it a historical document and the result of national resilience, political rationale, and responsible diplomacy. Now, there's also taglines out there like "We defeated two nuclear powers," so you got that contrast out there too. But that's pretty good coming from the president there. It's probably about as modest as you're going to get. As per the text posted by Iran, the MOU ends military operations on all fronts, including Lebanon, and starts a 60-day period for further negotiations to arrive at a final deal. So that's going to be the kingpin there. And of course, that gets us closer to the midterms. And we know that Iran likes to play games. So will that hold up? Question mark there. So we're not out of the woods yet. We'll see where we're going, but we'll take it for what it is. Because there's only two options, right? There's the military option, or three options. There's a military option, and that's essentially going to try and do regime change if you went back in again. Right. So, and they've kind of had a quasi, regime change. And secondly, you try to do a deal that does its best to stop them getting nuclear weapons and advancing their missile program too much. We'll see how that all plays out. Iran also reaffirmed that it would not produce or develop nuclear weapons and that its enriched material would be disposed through a mutually agreed upon mechanism during the negotiation period. Crucially, the MOU, or Memorandum of Understanding, would reopen the Strait of Hormuz without any tolls or charges for 60 days. The vital conduit for a fifth of the world's oil and liquefied natural gas has been effectively shuttered since the start of the conflict, leading to the biggest supply. We're going down here. I don't know what happened there, but huge. Huge significance for inflation. Where are we going here? But further down, much of the geopolitical risk premium for oil prices. Biggest supply in history. Now, it's not any disruption in history supply, but actually, it's there've been a number of repositionings with oil flows and sales deals, and America in particular has picked that up. So I think there's about $100 billion barrels a day. Is that right? 100 billion. Yeah, I think so. I always get confused between millions and billions. I think it's 100 billion barrels a day. I think America's doing 17 of that. Much of the geopolitical risk premium for surging oil prices has been effectively removed this week as crude prices fell to 3 months lows. Brent futures in August, the global oil benchmark, were last up at $80. So it's pretty cool. So we're basically getting good results there. Obviously, there's been a bit of criticism about the MOU, even from the Republicans, so we'll see how it plays out there. But I think it's probably the best path forward at this stage without trying to do regime change. And if they did regime change, they would have to get 80, 90% of the people of Iran who want a regime change to actually do a civil war and take over. So that's what they would have to do. And that's quite a commitment if you think about it. They would go well past the midterms, most likely. That's not to say that something might not happen in the future, but we'll see. Obviously, need weapons to make that happen. And you'd need US air support, right, to make that really take it over the top. But that doesn't seem the option that they've taken for this. They've gone for the MOU. All right. So that's kind of where we are right now. Obviously, the Fed voted no change in the federal funds rate, so 3.5 to 3.75%, possibly with one more rate cut during the year. We shall see. He's going to do a number of changes there. So that's pretty much where we are with the market. So we had a really green day on the markets, and of course the commodities there. We got oil prices coming down, but there's always Bitcoin, right? Always Bitcoin. All right, so that is the market. So let's go to crypto, see how crypto did overnight. Well, obviously, crypto had a pretty much a second day down. And so crypto is sitting at 2.258 trillion. We are down 2.2%, so a decent day down for the crypto overall. We got Bitcoin at the moment at 62,970, so we'll just say just under 63,000. We're down 2.3% on the last 24 hours and 1% for the week, which isn't too bad, I guess, in hindsight. We are still down at the bottom of the range. We got the 60K in February, 59K earlier this month. And we bounced essentially just above the power law resistance floor. So is the bottom in? That's the question. What would take us down to another level, maybe to 53K or so? There's the bearish scenario. Well, we'll see. We'll just have to wait and see what happens there. But the power law has been pretty reliable, and so we'll go with that for the time being. Ethereum at the moment is down 2.4% at $1,709. I'm quite happy to see it back at $1,799, but really want to see it back over $1,720. So if we can get up higher today, over that today, it'll be very encouraging. We're up 2.7% for the week still, so that we've still got a profit in there. BNB at number 4 is down 3.3%, 3.8% for the week, so most of that today at $581. So obviously want to get back over 600 there. XRP at number 6 is down 3.3%, but still up 1% for the week, $1.15. Solana at number 7 is down 3.4%, but still up 4.2% at 60. I'll just say just under $70 there. Tron at number 8 is down 0.1%, but up 1.8% for the week at 32 cents. Finally, number 10 is Hyperliquid Hype, is down 6.8%. Now, remember, it's a leverage play. Now, it typically benefits from volumes and panic, but when the market's going down dramatically, probably impacted on the old Hype there, and Hype was kind of doing quite well still. Down up 13.5% for the week, sitting at $67.38. So obviously, enjoy the ride there for Hyperliquid. All right, so that is the top 10, top 5 and top 100. Well, we've got Lab Dexy, Midnight, Sky, and Baldex. They're all positives. Only two really standouts there. Lab up 36% and Dexy up 16. Top performance in the last week in the top 100. Well, we've got Lab up 96%, Baldex up 53%, and then we've got WorldCoin, which is digital ID, up 28%. Uniswap, obviously on that expectation about 100x on Uni. We'll see how that goes. So that's at 25%. And then Stellar XLM had a late move, up 22% there, but is down today. So those are the top 5 and top 100. Top 1,000, we've got Siren. Remember the big whale dump on Siren? Well, they had a big recovery of 131%, but that was a pretty shocking whale dump on the old Siren. Remember, it was up hundreds of percent, and then the whale came in and smashed that chart, took out millions and millions and millions of dollars. Asteroid SHIB there is up 78%, and Cortex in the top 1,000 up 45%. So those are the top gainers in the top 1,000. Trending overall, Autonomy, Siren, and a Lab. So a bit of a mixture there. So that is the markets down 2.2% on the overall market there. Let's zoom into Bitcoin on the hourly. We've got Craig Pitt in the house. Hey, morning all. Great to see you, Craig. Always a pleasure. And we've got Hexavator as well. Hey, gang. Great to see you in the chat as well. If you guys are watching, if you're new, get in the chat there and say hello. Always appreciate that. All right, so the hourly here, we can see that we bounced off a low about 10 hours ago or so. We were down at 62,159. We're at 62,900, so a nice little bounce back there. Obviously, we would like to get back over 63.7 and even better 64,400. So we need a bit of a move there for that. But a bit of drama on the streets. Now, this has impacted Strategy and Strive overnight with their debt market products, which are preferred stocks actually. And but it's up 1.2% right now over the last 9 hours. So up $740 on Bitcoin. But let's have a look at the 4-hourly traders chart. We can see that we've got a key line there, 64,400. Pretty important to get back over that. So keep a lookout for that one. Hopefully we can do it and do a nice recovery there. Let's go to the 1 dayer on the daily chart. We've got the 50-day moving average. It's just under 70K, 69,677. So that would be a natural one to beat out, which is 70K after beating out the other one there. So we've got 64,400. Then we've got 67,300. And then we've got 70K. This is rounded up. All right, so that's the play right now. Let's go to the weekly chart. I think we're going to finish there. We won't go to the monthly there, but weekly, we've got a target there on its back of 68,773. So onwards and upwards here. Obviously, if we can break through a number of those things all the way through to 70K, then it's game on there for the old Bitcoin. We are expecting, obviously, June to be quite weak because of the SpaceX IPO and the geopolitical issues, which seem to be going in our favor at this stage. Oil's coming down, so things are actually looking really good. The inflation issue is being kicked down the road. That's still the potential negative, but I think we might get a few surprises there from the new chair. So let's see what happens there by the fourth quarter. All right, so that's the play on the weekly. Let's jump over to some of the drama overnight. So obviously Bitcoin was down. Actually, we'll go to the monthly because we're going to have a look at the truly long-term view. And we are below the monthly moving average. It's the 50-month, it's 66K. So obviously 66K is very important there. And, we've got to get our move on. Now, we know that we haven't been below the 50 monthly moving average very much. And it's generally been extremely profitable. Look at that. All right, so bring it on. So mid-July is kind of when I feel like things might pick up for the second half, and that's after the SpaceX IPO and all the indexes investing a couple $100 billion in it. So we'll see. It also depends on the timing of the other IPOs like Anthropic and OpenAI and Google, right? All raising was about $65 to $80 billion. So we'll see what happens with those. All right, so the drama overnight was probably the most important thing. And this is what we want, right? So these preferred stocks are targeting the debt markets and raising capital from the debt markets, which is huge, right? Over 300 trillion plus. And of course, just getting a fraction that's going to pump Bitcoin to the moon, given how small the market cap of crypto and Bitcoin is. So we've been looking at that a lot, and that will also help give us a price floor supporting the structure of the chart, etc. And then hopefully, corporates and ETFs and things like that go over the top, and then retail comes in later on. Because they've not really been around too much this time, right? We do have a big mega theme. Remember that individual holding of Bitcoin is being transferred to the corporate institutions through those 3 different categories of digital asset treasuries, ETFs, and individual corporates and institutions. and alliances, I guess you could say. So we got all that playing out, and that's a mega theme that's happening, right? So right, so we've got SATA here at the moment. SATA is at $96.77. It needs to be over $100, remember, to actually issue new SATA shares and raise capital and buy Bitcoin. That's for Strive, right? Strive is ranked number 7 of the treasuries. It is a rising star, and it's offering 13% nominal rate there. The effective yield is 13.43% because the price of the preferred stock is below $100, right? So that's the logic there. So you get a higher yield. So if you're buying at 96, it's sort of self-regulating. It's supposed to be. But obviously sentiment in the market, liquidation events, things like that can have an impact as we're seeing right now, right? We're getting a bit of a test of that idea. Now, so here we're at 13.43. So we're going to have a quick look at SATA, and we're going to have a commentary by the CEO. Interesting enough, commentated on this, which I think is really interesting. And I'm not sure we would see that from Michael Saylor in particular. But here we are on SATA. So there was nothing raised overnight on the ATM. So it didn't reach $100 and it didn't get raised. We got the chart here. The orange line at the top here is the $100 mark. And you can see we didn't even get close. In fact, we got pretty bad. We got all the way down to $93.25. $93.25. So well below the $100, which means that if you're buying it, your effective yield would have been probably much higher than where it is now, right? Because we're at $96.97, and it was much higher there. In fact, it closed at $97.37, and then the aftermarkets was $96.97 there. So pretty dramatic, even for Strive, which has been the rising star, right? The last couple of weeks, last couple of days, I should say, it has been raising, buying Bitcoin. And so we can see that here if we look at the last couple of days, since the 15th, it's been raising capital from the debt markets and buying Bitcoin. The 15th there, we got 112. Now, this is an estimate. It could be more. 112, then we got 300. So we got 410, let's say. The 17th, we got 190. So what's that? Basically close to 600 Bitcoin estimate, which is huge, right? That's really great. I mean, in number 7, digital asset treasury. And they've moved to daily payments essentially, right? So as well, which is a whole new product. Imagine if you've got your broker account, or you're in some of the maybe X stocks or Starter or Ondo, particularly X stocks. Then you're getting these dividends every day virtually, which is pretty amazing. So, but 600 Bitcoin so far, which is pretty good. So still doing pretty well. Remember last time they did when they were still doing monthly from the last round, they got to 2,500 Bitcoin they purchased, and this is essentially going off the market, right? So this Bitcoin goes into Strive's common stock called Assist, which is ASST common stock, and so they got both of those operating. So bit of a shock there today. Well, we got a response from the CEO, so we're going to read that out briefly. So Matt Cole here from Strive. And he said today was the most difficult day in the history of digital credit. Now we know that really, Michael Saylor's pioneered this digital credit concept, and obviously, offering these preferred stocks based on the collateral backing of Bitcoin itself. Stretch has traded as low as $82.50. And this is talking about Michael Saylor's strategy, digital asset treasury, and not his own. Right, he's the Strive CEO and chairman. It's traded as low as $82.50 before recovering sharply. SATA traded from par down to the low 90s before also rebounding. It was a difficult day for investors. So, a little bit of an admission of the challenge that's going on right now. But as you guys know, when we're in bearish market conditions still, we always get this kind of thing happening, right? This sort of events happening. What happened today was a leverage liquidation event, not a deterioration in the underlying credit quality. Very important there, and I would agree with them there. There is an old saying in income markets that the road to hell is paved with carry. When investors discovered an asset that offers attractive yields, relatively low volatility, and strong underlying credit characteristics, many eventually decide that owning it is not enough. They borrow against it, they lever it, and they attempt to enhance the carry. That works until it doesn't. When markets move against leverage holders, forced selling can create a cascade. Prices fall, margin calls increase, more sellers occur, and the cycle feeds on itself. And so that's the process there. The selling becomes disconnected from fundamentals and becomes driven by balance sheet constraints. We've seen this many times before in traditional finance. Some of the largest hedge funds failures in history involved highly leveraged positions in the US treasuries, not because treasuries suddenly became poor credits, but because investors became overextended while trying to earn additional yield on assets that appeared safe and stable. This is the dynamic that played out today in digital credit. Importantly, the creditworthiness of the issuers remains strong. As Strive, so that is the positioning statement there. At Strive, our dividend reserves remain intact, so they can keep paying the dividends. I think they've got 18 months as their coverage. That's what they've talked about. Our company is not under stress. We remain well positioned to meet our obligations and continue executing our strategy. The underlying credit profile remains substantially unchanged from where it was before today's volatility. One of the lessons markets teach repeatedly is that leverage flushes out not necessarily evidence of weak collateral. In many cases, they occur precisely because the underlying collateral is viewed as stable enough to encourage excessive leverage in the first place. In that sense, today's events were difficult for some investors, but they were also instructive. Digital credit is still in its infancy. It is better for the market to experience and learn from these dynamics now, while the market remains relatively small. Then years from now, when the market is many times larger, investors, issuers, and market participants all benefit from understanding the risks associated with leverage and liquidity before asset classes reaches full scale, I should say. So remember, really, we've been having a kickoff in all this since February, March, April. That's when we've been raising billions, particularly through strategy, and Strive's done very well also. And strategy was buying 25,000 Bitcoin a month, and so now it's facing a challenge. Obviously, after the Black Week, where Bitcoin crashed and it's bounced off that 59K. No one knows with certainty whether today's lows will ultimately prove to be the bottom. What is clear that there was substantial demand at those prices. Both Stretch and SATA experienced significant buying interest off the intraday's lows. So this is kind of the self-regulating aspect to it. And resulting in sharp recoveries. That price action reflects meaningful demand entering the market at low levels and is an encouraging sign of the health of the asset class. So that is the key part there. A liquidation event and a credit event are not the same thing. The price action today did not change my conviction in the long-term opportunity for digital credit. If anything, it reinforced my belief that we are building an entirely new category of financial instruments that will experience many of the same growing pains that other large fixed income markets experience before reaching maturity there. Volatility was uncomfortable for many participants. The lesson will prove valuable. Stay calm, focus on fundamentals. Markets have a way of working through excesses. When they do, stronger foundations are often left behind there. So a bit of a reassurance there to the market. And so, yeah, we've got some interesting extra comments that you can read those as well. Now, I'll post this link here if you want to read some of the comments that he does as well, but we're going to leave it there at his main posts. And that there was from Strive CEO. Obviously, this is a big deal, so that's why we're covering it in the market here. So we're always going to get these tests when we're pushing the bottom. And of course, after we have a big sell-off like we did 2 weeks ago, you often get a trauma in the market as well, right? So you get obviously the flywheels going negative, but you also get the trauma. All right, so that is from Matt Cole, and so that was a pretty insightful post there. Now we also obviously have strategies Strive out as well, which has moved to bi-monthly, right? So basically fortnightly, what we call fortnightly payments. And so Stretch, that is Stretch, and Stretch of course is at $88.59, so still well below $100, and of course had that really big move down before the market brought it back up. And the rate there is at 11.5% nominal rate, but the yield is just under 13% right now based on that price being so below the $100. So you're getting a bit of a capital upside there as long as the market, as Mr. Cole was saying, self-regulates. When the price gets to a certain point, the market's willing to buy it up. The other inference that most people might make is that the market's after a high yield of 13%, which would be similar to SATA, but that sort of falls away a little bit to some degree when SATA's potential yield is 13.43 on effective yield. So maybe you even have to go to 13.5% yield on that. Now remember, the whole thing of offering yield is that you're expecting to take the money that you raise once you get over $100, and that you're going to make a CAG of 30 plus % a year, and therefore just pay a share of that out as yield, right? That's kind of idea, and you've just got to make sure that you keep your ability to pay that dividend like Strive has for 18 months. Obviously, you don't want to get into your capital collateral, because even though you might have 32 years for that for Stretch from Michael Saylor with the Bitcoin backing in MSTR, which is the common stock that holds a Bitcoin there, you don't want to go down that path, right? Because it's a negative flywheel. So obviously it gets worse as the price of Bitcoin goes down. And so we've seen the common stock for those digital asset treasuries go down overnight. So they're actually, arguably, if we're at the bottom, they're bargains right now, right? Bargains. and so that is kind of where we are on Stretch. So no capital raise so far from Stretch, and so I don't think we're going to get some real action until Wednesday next week. So we'll keep a lookout for that. Remember, it's bi-monthly now dividends, the first time, and it's a unique offering in the space. So as long as we get a bit of recovery in the markets there, I'll look out for Wednesday next week is my guess for Stretch. All right, so let's go to the. So this is a bit of an overview of what's going on right now. Digital asset treasury. So no big billions of dollars being raised. Strive still did okay this week, 600 Bitcoin, but we obviously want to get strategy back to make billions of dollars of raises, at least $2 billion a month, buying 25,000 Bitcoin a month. Now on Monday, we are still expecting Michael Saylor to buy more Bitcoin. He's typically, I think, maybe up to 1,500 Bitcoin every week with potentially common stock / cash. Obviously, he's been raising about $100 million each week for the last 2 weeks. So I think sitting on about $1.2 billion in cash. And so we continue to see, I think, that play out. So that he's still going to continue to buy accretive Bitcoin now. And then maybe next Wednesday we get some debt market. We get back to $100. Keep a lookout for that. All right. Before it goes ex-dividend on the 15th, that's on the 30th, I should say. Let's go to the ETH price right now. So ETH is down at 1703. Obviously, we're down from that little pull down at 1740. I really think we need to get back over 1720. Interesting enough, it hasn't been able to get over 1720. I think that's a key mark there. So we'll keep a lookout for that. Let's go to the 4-hourly traders view on Ethereum. The target price is a pretty modest 1728. So like I say, that's where I think we need to get over. It's $1,720. Hopefully we'll do that today. That'll be very positive. Let's go to the daily. The daily, of course, we have got the 50 moving average at $1,933. The 200-day in orange is at $23.64. So obviously after 1720, we want to get over that at 1933. So that's kind of the play. Let's see how we get on there too. What else do we got? The weekly chart. The weekly chart has got a bit of a death cross coming up, but I think it's probably going to be short-lived. Maybe last a little bit there, but once again, I am expecting us to pick up from mid-July, all things equal, by mid-July. All right, so let's jump over to the monthly finally, and just like Bitcoin, anytime it's below the 50, it's a pretty good profitable entry. Because we go up to that 5K, you just got to be patient, and up we go. And so it's free money in there. Now, I think we're going to be entering a new period of time, and I'm going to break that down now. And we could break that 5K in the next 12 to 24 months is the time frame there. I'm expecting big things this year, particularly in the second half, but that's kind of the play. Doesn't mean you don't have pullbacks on the way, but they should be from higher levels is the idea. So pretty cool. So why are we so confident about that? Well, the future of finance is on Ethereum. This is what Tom Lee's vision is, and that also mass adoption will be coming. So I want to say a few things about that. So obviously BMNR digital asset treasury, the number one. There's two main ones, right? SPED as well, but the MNAV is less than zero. So I'm not sure what the actual strategy one was. Had been about 120, 1.2. Probably went down low on that overnight. But we're at 0.94 on the MNAV. So this is where the market value is lower than the asset value, right? So we've got a bit of issue there at 0.94. They can't really go to the market and do at the market with common stock issuance. No, not preferred stock. They don't do that. But common stock is to raise capital to buy more Ethereum. But we know that they're pretty close, right? We know they're pretty close. So interesting enough, they were signaling several weeks back that they were going to slow down the purchase rate. But then, of course, Ethereum price crashed with the Bitcoin Black Week. And so they started buying up as much as they could. And what does this do for them? Well, it means that they are lowering their average price of purchase, right? So they bought a lot in the 3,000s, the 4,000s, if you recall. And so they're lowering their average. I think the average is around about 3,400, plus or minus $50. And so they're trying to get that lower and lower and lower, right? So they've still got a window to 5%. And by my accounts, they've got enough cash. If we add in their cash that they've already got, which I think last time was about $500 million, and that was including their preferred stock that they raised with the 9.5% yield. That's not an ATM product, so it's not like the Bitcoin ATMs where it gets to $100 and you can issue more preferred stock there. It's just a fixed price. They're probably going to pay it back in time, and of course the staking yield that they earn, which is just under 3%, can easily pay that. It's like maybe 10% of the income that they're earning, something like that. So they'll be wanting to lower that average cost dramatically, because that means that when the market recovers, they are well in the money much earlier. It's good for them, right? Now the question is, he's talked about several weeks ago as well that they were deciding whether they were going to go beyond 5%. So if we take the preferred yield, they obviously raised that capital. They've obviously bought a lot more Ethereum with that to head towards the 5%. They're currently sitting probably just under 5.7 million. So by my account, they only still need maybe another $400 or $500 million to get to that 6%. So it's getting pretty close, guys, pretty close. And I guess if he wanted to, the conditions are pretty tough right now, but he is pretty much aimed, I think, getting that 5% pretty quick. And at the cheapest price possible, with Ethereum down at 1,500. What are we at now? Sorry, $1,700. So that's pretty much it. Lower cost there, very important. And will we see him go past 5%? We may do. So we're going to keep a lookout for that. And if he does go past 5%, it would be the idea of bringing down his average cost, right? The average cost there. So it's the DCA average lower. And if you think you're at the bottom right now, it's a good idea, right? So a good plan there. So pretty cool. Obviously, he's got a lot of unrealized losses on the books, given the fact the price is 1,700 and he bought 34. So, it's down half, 50% there. But actually, he's playing the long game. So there's not a short-term game. And he wants to bring the future of finance and mass adoption to Ethereum. Now, how do I think he might do that, right? So obviously they've got their Maven staking platform. They are not only staking for themselves, which they've currently got about 85% staked at the moment through Maven and through other providers. But they are also doing third-party staking. That third-party staking, I think, is a big clue to where they're heading. And they're also staking for Solana and Hyperliquid, and I think Basechain as well. So they've got about a couple $1 billion at least for third-party staking that they're managing for others and earning a fee for that, no doubt. So that is where I think that's a clue to where they're heading in the future. Now we know two other things, right? So we know that he has been strategizing around the future of finance on the blockchain. That means that he is positioning, trying to work out how's the most valuable, optimized way of doing that, bringing the old world traditional markets over to Ethereum in particular, and making it the future of finance. We also know recently that he's taken over essentially the leadership of Ethereum, and this is a fantastic thing because he's that perfect crossover guy between traditional markets and the crypto markets, right? So he's been talking about the crypto since and I think as early as 2013 or so, and so he's been that early guy. He was also back in 2000s, he was around the .com boom, doing telecommunications, the internet, and all that sort of stuff in the early days. So he's well versed there, and of course, very popular person there as well, very well known. So Tom Lee doing great stuff there, and he's talked about the digital asset treasuries taking a key role in terms of funding and supporting the Ethereum Foundation. They've obviously been buying a lot of Ethereum from the Ethereum Foundation, which I think has got about 100,000 left. And of course, we know that Vitalik and the Ethereum Foundation are moving back towards the vision, more of a DeFi vision, and of course, quantum protection, all that sort of stuff by 2029. So that's all in play. We know that that's back to really where Richard Hart from Pulsechain has been talking about for years, despite people thinking otherwise. It ends up being the right path forward. And also privacy is a key part there as well. So Tom Lee's talked about the fact that his vision is going to be slightly different, though. So he likes DeFi, but he still wants it to have some of the old school identifications, right? So he's invested in 8Co. 8Co's got an OpenAI position, right? So it's a holding company for AI and digital ID. And the digital ID there is essentially, or digital identification in particular, is from WorldCoin and, of course, Sam Altman. So you can love or hate him, but that's kind of the direction he's going, so that you can differentiate human versus an AI agent, for example. So this is kind of where they're heading for it, whether you love it or not. That's where they're kind of going. Now, the other big thing, of course, he's talked about an app coming up for Bitmine immersion. So what would a Bitmine Immersion app might be? Well, obviously they've got Maven with the staking protocol there. So why not make their app have financial services on it, right? So particularly around staking. And they've also got a big deal with Mr. Beast. So Mr. Beast there is obviously a big part of it. So let's jump over to Mr. Beast. So Mr. Beast, obviously the biggest influencer in the world, and he is reaches at least 1 in 3 people online every month, I believe. And I think he's just reached over 500 million people subscribers, I think, on YouTube or something. So he's hitting some milestones there. Also, recently they announced that they had, with all his diversification into consumables and entertainment and everything else they're doing, they have reached over $1 billion in income. But of course, earlier this year, I think it was February, after Bitmine Immersion invested 200 million, they went and bought the financial app Leap. Some people say a banking app, but it's not quite there yet, right? It's a financial app there, but it could be heading towards a full financial banking kind of arrangement as well. How would it do that? Well, arguably a big part of it could be, and I suggest it will be, on the back of Bitmine Immersion and possibly interconnected with their retail offerings as well. So if we have it right, because if Bitmine's going to have their own app, if that's still their vision, and Mr. Beast has got his Leap that he bought, and they're rejigging that for release. They're going to be targeting the alpha and Z generations, as well as part of the millennial generations. So we're talking about a huge number of people there. And of course, they're going to be inheriting a lot of money too. And he wants to do a lot of financial instruction as well, obviously, as provide the services and clip the ticket on the way. And this is massive, right? So this is the route that Tom Lee's mostly looking at. Obviously, he's also got institutions coming in. They will also want to come in and with their products and come from TradeFi into DeFi on the Ethereum blockchain. And they will also maybe look at having their services route through Bitmine Immersion / Mr. Beast, right? So through those apps. What would it might look like? Well, Mr. Beast app might have a key feature or product on it that goes through to Bitmine Immersions. We're going to see how that shapes out and whether they offer staking yield on Ethereum there to the masses. And that's how it might occur, right? So Tom Lee's obviously talking about potentially going past 5%. That may also be a part of it. And also, we haven't seen Tom Lee stake everything yet, right? It's only staked about 85%. So still quite a bit of Ethereum still to go. We know there's about a 2-month queue to get into staking as well. So there's a lot of things like that going on. So I tend to think that we're probably going to, if that's the route that he's going to take, that would make a lot of sense. I'm still question mark over Bitmine having their own app, but Mr. Beast app is obviously a no-brainer, right? That's pretty much one of the best routes to mass adoption for crypto and specifically Ethereum. But probably going to offer a multi-chain solution because that's what Bitmine offers with Maven, right? Is some of the top chains. So very, very important stuff there. So that's how I think we're going to get to the mass adoption, and it's going to happen fast, right, Mr. Beast there. They do their apps on their show, and sign up here, get your chocolate bar, or get earn income on ETH, and so you can purchase ETH through the app, get it staked, and earn your 3% yield, mad gains, and the price goes up to the moon, and because the demand's so high, and it's game on, right? And then you got institutions in the play as well. Hey, look, we're doing this and that. You can have all our products as well, and then you got this big bank offering with all the best products, right? And they make it nice and simple and easy to onboard, right? So that's kind of the idea I think we may be heading to with Mr. Beast, right? And Tom Lee and that leadership. Now, the other side of it, of course, of taking leadership on the Ethereum Foundation, they'll be feeding back a lot of this requirements that they want with the blockchain. Obviously, we've got a big upgrade coming with the number of transactions coming up soon for Ethereum, and we know them heading back towards DeFi. So no doubt Tom Lee is showing leadership is going to help make that all go to all align up so that the infrastructure on Ethereum is aligning up with what they think the consumer and the institutions are going to be offering. So some pretty big thing there happening. And of course, like I say, you're talking about billions of people watching Mr. Beast videos, so it's game on. You can see how quickly we've never really had this in crypto. It's always been sort of a word of mouth network with some decent institutions like Galaxy and others out there trying to grow the mass adoption play. But it's always been a slow grind. And retail, of course, isn't really around much anymore. So if you can repackage it, make it real easy, and make it exciting, like Mr. Beast, you game on, and you're reaching whole new markets to get adoption. So I think that's some of the big plays we were hitting. Now, I think that's going to flow on, obviously, into Pulsechain as well, because as capital flows, as new users flow, there's an absolute massive boom like we've never seen before. And that flows onto Ethereum, which is also, onto Pulsechain, which is also a full state system copy of Ethereum. And obviously, we've seen, gone through the worst of it, and now we're only seeing a lot of upside on Pulsechain, right? A lot of values being added by some good teams. And the more and more value products that we get added to Ethereum, Pulsechain, then the better, right? We'll get even more part of that pie. And that excludes anything else Richard Hart is doing with the Magic Cart ride and the value of the ETH from the sacrifice, if you're in that position that you think he will use that to some form in the future. Obviously, Richard said that he's working hard, that he wants Pulsechain season, and that he particularly pointed out $10,000 ETH as a key mark. So that may be something in the future. We shall see what happens there. So that's pretty important. And so that's Mr. Beast. So I think that's what we're going to be looking out for, guys. He's obviously getting a lot of the pieces of the puzzle, but like a maybe more like a puzzle, classic puzzle, putting those pieces together and bringing the future of finance over to Ethereum. And that includes a lot of the mega themes, right? So stablecoins, tokenization, those will be big players that he'll be dealing with. And we already know some of the players he's already dealing with, like Kraken and others. And also that he will be looking at AI agents and AI. So obviously he's already big on that with 8Co, the holding company for OpenAI, and Digital ID with WorldCoin. So those are obviously where he's heading with this. So people will, have to, show them who they are, that they're actually human, to interacting with products. They'll be able to benefit from the AI economy, as it were. So some mega themes happening there, and that's what I suggest we're going to see. When are we going to see that? Well, Mr. Beast has already indicated that they're still working on their product. So I don't think we'll see that at least possibly until third, fourth quarter. We may see Bitmine's app out first and then Mr. Beast out by the end of the year. That's kind of the timeline I'm expecting at the moment, just my judgment, but we can keep watch out for that. Any news that you see on that is a big deal. And I don't know if the market's going to fully appreciate it, because obviously they're going to keep a lot of things close to their chest. But that's where I suggest things are heading moving forward. Now, obviously, if I don't really see too many other alternatives, but maybe they've come up with something even better than that, we shall see. But I think that is an incredible route to mass adoption for Ethereum, and it would make Ethereum very scarce very quickly if you start having millions of people starting to demand Ethereum and staking and earning money from that, right? We know it's tough out there, and so it would make a lot of sense for people to say, hey, look, I can start earning some money every year in the old crypto, and it's all self-fulfilling, right? Because it makes Ethereum more scarce and onwards and upwards from there. And in essence, very deflationary, right? Very deflationary. All right, so that's some of the cool stuff there, and I suspect that we'll get the Ethereum Foundation adapting to some of those discussions that they have behind the scenes, and Tom Lee becomes really the face of Ethereum there moving forward, funding a lot of the projects that come out of Ethereum Foundation as well. And then we got Glamsterdam coming out next with massive increase in layer one transactions, and I think that's going to be huge and cheaper prices, right? So we obviously want to get close to a payments rail as well, which is the ultimate vision there for Tom Lee. So finance and payment rails, and that gets us up into those big numbers that he's talking about. First 12 to 22K under normal sort of percentages relative to Bitcoin, and reaching 250, and then of course a re-rate longer term. So that's probably possibly within the next 2 years, and then a re-rate longer term over the next 10 years, somewhere between $60,000 and $250,000 per Ethereum. That's how he gets those numbers. But of course, you've got to achieve the future of finance and payment rails and mass adoption on the Ethereum to make that happen, and that's what he's working to do. So that's kind of a backdrop in there. We're going to drop any other things that we consider moving forward, but that's kind of where we are with the old Bitmine immersion there. That's going to bring more capital than you can possibly dream into the markets there. So it's going to be pretty awesome. All right, so let's get into Pulsechain. We're going to get back to our normal market coverage now. That's kind of some of our mega themes. And of course, we see that Pulsechain at the moment is ticking away. So let's get into that. We're on day 1,133. Pulsechain, of course, is a full system state copy of Ethereum based on the 10th of May 2023. Launched a couple of days later on the 30th of May 2023. And it brings all the smart contracts over. Obviously, it didn't bring the Oracle over. So a lot of our top contracts are essentially not that useful, but we're getting a lot of new teams building a lot of the best stuff in crypto anyway. So it's all happening. I think we're really at this turning point where value on the chain is really looking forward. And we got less black swan events potentially to happen, because I think a large chunk of it's already gone. Now we can always get big accounts selling. That's always going to be, that's a normal market thing. But I think the worst of it is through there, and we got a lot of value being added by a lot of projects teams there, and it's hopefully just going to expand and expand. I think there's something like 16,000 developers on Ethereum, and we've got, I don't know, at least probably up to a couple hundred if they're active, but certainly dozens of them working hard on key projects there. So I think that's kind of exciting, and price will eventually catch up, right? But essentially, Tom Lee's not only pumping Ethereum, but I think ultimately will end up pumping the Pulsechain as well. One through the magic upright, but other just through normal market capital flows and new users. So it's going to be pretty exciting there. And hopefully, a lot of our developers pick up the latest products and run on the back of a lot of that development as the ecosystem experiences that move from finance and mass adoption there. All right, so that's kind of cool. So we're on day 1,133. We've got Pulse price at the moment sitting at 6,731. We've got, that's up 0.25% at the moment. Hex on Pulsechain is up 3.25%. We're sitting at 95 thousandths of a penny right now. ProofX at the moment is at quadruple 04, down 0.5%. PulseX at the moment at 505 something, and that's up 2%. And Ink token at 30 cents is up 2.5%. So Ink and Hex are the performers of the day, relatively speaking. So even though we had a bit of a negative day on the markets, not too bad on the old Pulsechain. All right, so let's go to the stats here. We've got validated stats right now. Validated stats there, we're looking at 46,867. Obviously, that's down from our peak of 54, and we have lost a few thousand recently. And we're still, I guess, arguably waiting for Rackham Shell to do his 2,000 or 3,000 for Coin Mafia. And so I guess we'll see that on the numbers there. Let's go to the gas prices. We got 500,000 beats, which is pretty normal. That's kind of where we've been sitting, pretty low. 77 pulse for a Pulsex swap, 5 thousandths of a penny. And let's move to the bridge here, which has kind of been a leading indicator. We recovered from the bottom, a bit like Jenny from the block. And let's see where we're going from here. All right, so we've got 49.74, so we have come down quite a bit there from that recovery, but we did bottom out at 47.59. So we're still up from there, 47.59. So still up to $2.25 million, still up on the bridge there from that bottom mark. So we'll keep a lookout for that. We did have a negative bridge yesterday, pretty sure, and the day before. Oh no, it's positive today on this one, but it was negative yesterday. If you go to Pulse alerts, this one was negative today. So I'm not sure whether their time zone's the same, but actually we've got a positive day there regardless. So that's kind of cool. A lot of ETH coming in, USDC in the mix. All right, so let's go to the Pulsechain chart. We've been following this over the weekly, and we can see actually that we're still making that fight from the bottom. And obviously, we've had to put up with a lot of the stuff happening with the majors, Bitcoin and Ethereum. And we can see the bottom at the moment was last week. We were down at 5,05400, and that is the low. We're currently at 5,06700, so we're still up a decent amount. We have not yet quite got back into that full 7,200 to 7,800. So I'm just taking the 5 zeros off if you're wondering what I'm talking about there. So 5 zeros, 72, 8,200. We're up 22%. So it's still not too bad. We've got a lot of work to do though, and we did tap out earlier this week at 7,300. So we did kind of get into that zone that we'd been for 11 weeks, which was structurally different from what we'd seen before on the Pulsechain chart and the RSI skimming along the bottom. So it feels like that price is going to move up. We obviously had a lot of value being added to the Pulsechain. That's looking like that's going to continue with the likes of Liberty Swap, with the likes of Tetra ecosystem, with the likes of the Vault 369 ecosystem as well. So we're getting, still a lot of bullish things happening in that space. And obviously we have bullish things happening in farming and DeFi on the chain as well. More speculative, but certainly offering some of those high DeFi yields, which is kind of cool. So we're looking to try and get this blue line, right, to break out and finally defeat this long-term mega downtrend on Pulsechain and onto the upwards there. Now, obviously, with all my previous commentary on Ethereum and Bitcoin, Bitcoin targeting the debt markets, Ethereum targeting the equity markets, in particular mass adoption as well. Then we're looking here to benefit from that as well in the future. Hopefully from mid-July onwards is the break there. We already knew that June was going to be tough, and middle of July as well. We obviously, with July there, we've got SpaceX getting into a lot of the indexes, the Russell 1000, Russell 100 probably, and also the NASDAQ there. And that's going to probably drive hundreds of billions of dollars, maybe $200, $300, $400 billion into SpaceX, right? We saw SpaceX, I think, closed at 185 today. It peaked out at about 225, somewhere in that ballpark. And so it did have a bit of a pullback as well, quite significant, I guess, in dollar terms, but it's still well up from $135. And we've got all that index value to flow in over the next week or two, right? So keep a lookout for that. And then, of course, it's relative to when the next IPOs are, the big ones. There's probably 10 decent-sized ones, but the big four, we've still got three more of those: the Google, the OpenAI, as well, and Anthropic too. So we've still got those out there. Now, the timelines for those are probably juggling around a bit, but I suggest to you they're going to try and go earlier than later to ride the wave of the AI boom, right? So remember, this with the AI boom is that people are reporting really good profits. This is giving us a very high target for the S&P 500 for the end of the year. So we're talking about 77, 7800 because of the profitability of the first quarter. And you multiply that by 4 times, you're going to get the upside to 77, 7800. The other big thing, of course, is that them raising a lot of capital is a question over, the capital markets supplying that sort of money. We do know there's something like $7 trillion sitting on the sideline. So we'll see how much of that gets pulled in to these IPOs moving forward this year and possibly the early next year. So yeah, that's kind of where we are right now. So it's a little challenging, but we are getting positives with the oil price coming down. So that's bullish for crypto, particularly for Ethereum. And we've got the inflation kick down the road there, and we've got the rollout of finance and mass adoption coming, which is going to have to play out over time. So you're still going to be patient, right? It's an investor's point of view, not a trader's point of view. All right, so we've got plenty of room in the RSI, as you can see, for a nice big rally. And we just really want to get back in the 72, 8200 mark. And then, of course, to break out from this mega downtrend for the last 3 years, get back over 1200, then head to 17, come back and test 1200, maybe 1000 at the worst, and then go up to the right. So allow a little bit of profit taking there, and then start to build a mega uptrend. And of course, you get all the positive flywheel rather than negative flywheel moving into that. And then maybe later down the piece, maybe Ethereum breaks that 5K. We start heading up higher there with all the stuff rolling out from Tom Lee and the lads and all the institutions that are going on. And we get that rollout. Now, remember, some big leading indicators we see is we've seen leading indicators into the Clarity Act from a lot of the banks, like some of the banks trying to fight it. Obviously, not just stablecoin income, but also active trading income. So they've been fighting that as well. But ultimately, let's see what happens if we get the Clarity Act through. The timeline's definitely been shifted. I'm not expecting it to be on the 4th of July, but maybe into the June recess there. But it's got to be done in that month. Obviously, midterms coming up November. But obviously, it's a big key thing why Trump wants to get this deal done as well, so they can settle things down and make the economy look really good. And the economy is good, but they need to get the oil prices down and reduce that impact there, and hopefully win the midterms. They lose the midterms, and then we've got the Democrats, and we know how evil and destructive they are. So all hell breaks loose, right? So we're gonna see how that all plays out. But at the moment, we're at 6,700, and we'll be watching the next few days leading into next week. Now, next week, of course, if we get Wednesday with Bitmine, with Strategy and their stretch product actually getting back to $100 and raising capital, that'd be very, very exciting. We may, if we don't, we'll probably miss out this 2 weeks and maybe the next fortnight because of the trauma from the Bitcoin crash, the Black Week, as I call it. So that could happen too. So we'll see. It's a little dicey at the moment. We just got to let that wash out a little bit. All right, so that's the place there for the RSI. Plenty of room to move. Let's see how we go, and price will catch up with value. And of course, maybe a lot of the participants on Pulsechain are exhausted. Obviously the sacrifice set, and also we've still got some hexagons that arguably could dump it down. We've seen one of those recently, but also. We've got the most of the contracts, the big ones, look like they've done their day, right? The makers of compounds and things like that. Looks like that's hopefully all over, and we don't have them draining liquidity pools and bridging our capital, that sort of thing. And we've reached the bottom, and onwards and up, we can start rebuilding from here. That's kind of the idea, and we've got a lot of diamond hands left, hopefully, that are accumulating. That's kind of the play. Let's jump over to the rest of the charts. So at the moment, we've got pretty low volume. It's a weekday, right? And we got a pretty low volume. We're at the bottom here, 2.5 million. Typically, low volumes has typically been about 2.3 to 3.5 million, and we're towards the bottom of that. We've got 278,000 transactions over the last 24 hours. And we've been doing about 8,000 active wallet users a day. It's about just under two, maybe around about, let's say just around about 250,000 per month. So we've had in that sort of volumes. Obviously, much smaller than the activity you see on Ethereum, but it's still ticking away there. So obviously, the community is working on growing that, and that's one of the big things the community has to do. Whether you're a user or a team developer, or whatever, is trying to reach out and expand the reach. I think a good example of that has been Internet Money. Internet Money, of course, our number one wallet up to this point. We are now getting a lot of other blue chip wallets coming in, but they have got on all the different platforms like Apple and Google Store and all that sort of stuff, Google Chrome Store, and they are basically offering up to 194 countries and about 40 blockchains. So I think that's kind of cool. You're making it maxi. I think they could do more work around marketing promotion. I still think that's a weak area for some of the blue chip projects. Any project that's got a bit of capital flow should always put a bit of targeted attention into some really high effective strategies there. And so that's something for them to think about. It's up to them ultimately. But other than that, also getting a list on everywhere you can, getting that network effect, trying to drive incentives, all that sort of stuff we see on big platforms that are also running in a lot of these sort of programs. So you also got to try and mimic some of the successful ones on other chains to try and get some of their capital flows and users and things like that. So there's still work to be done, but we're starting to see that really move on the old Pulsechain, particularly led by players like that. Now I know that KG's been working with Change now, being on X Spaces, getting in documentaries, so that's all very positive in that direction. The other big thing, of course, we've had LibertySwap, the big Kraken project on Pulsechain, really leading the way, bringing us the best of the best from other chains like Hyperliquid technology, and ramping that up as well, giving us spot and outcome markets, perpetual markets, fiat on and off ramps coming, and of course integrating all these products with the bridge, swapping, and everything else, privacy, all inside their wallet. So that's getting there, and it's about to go to mobile. So you see all its stuff's heading in the right direction. I'd like to see a couple more teams as well jump into the line there. And maybe existing teams on Pulsechain, maybe Fast Abdul, maybe Brandon, are working on some of these things, bringing us some of those top tier protocols and trying to get integrated into the foundations and fees, get listed, all that sort of stuff. So that's something else we could see in the future there. Maybe we get more devs lining up for that. We also got Stu out there, and we haven't heard from Jacob for a long time, but he's working on pretty advanced products. But we need to get to that, user reach and grow our users, grow the capital flows, and some of the teams are doing it already. Maybe some of those others will help support that whole move. All right, so that's kind of cool. And then we get green candles, and green candles is kind of the ultimate. You get a lot more people to come in, and that's the ultimate driver there. That's kind of cool. Let's have a look at the markets here. So we've got 2.5 million, a pretty low day on a weekday. Pulsex at the moment is doing 1.9 million of that, so we've got 600k left. LibertySwap, our V3 DEX, is doing 264. So what do I say we're at? 2.5. 2.5, so 6. So we're going to say 6 there. So we're still after 350. 90mm is doing how much? 90mm is doing. So we've had a flipping, by the way, again. So 90mm LibertySwap's flipped back to number 2 in front of 90mm. So 350. So let's say 250. So 100k left, I guess. SwitchX at the moment, our V4 is at 90k. So that's about right. And then maybe a little bit left over for a 9-inch. 10k, and Uniswap there, there's a little bit there at 6,000. So that balances out pretty well like yesterday. So you can kind of see the growth there. Of course, we got all the technology there, Pulsex and LibertySwap V2, Pulsex V2, LibertySwap V3, 9mm V3. Now LibertySwap 9mm also has V2, and we also have SwitchX V4 there. So pretty cool. And congratulations to the guys that have bought that to Pulsechain. You guys know I used to just talk about Pulsex and 90mm, but now we get to talk about LibertySwap and SwitchX. Very, very cool. So we've got a lot more blue chip DEXs, and of course, many of them are operating DEX aggregators as well. Obviously, SwitchX is one, and we're getting good stuff through 90mm and LibertySwap DEX aggregator too. So it's kind of cool, and of course, we've got some advanced sort of quasi aggregation through Pulsex too. So kind of cool. We've got the DEXs, we've got the DEX aggregators, and we're getting all this at the bottom of the market. And I say inverted commas there, bottom of the market, and we also getting a lot of other cool. We're getting wallet explosion on Pulsechain, so we're getting all the stuff we need at the right time. And some might say just in the nick of time, but we're getting all of the right things. So we've got the DEXs, DEX aggregators, so you're getting the best liquidity, best prices, helps people to trade better, smart tools like limit orders and all sorts of stuff coming. Intent-based trading through Liberty Swap, right? So intent-based trading there, that is really cool. Now, also privacy. We're getting privacy in there as well with shielding, unshielding, not just in Ethereum now, but on Pulsechain too. So obviously that's using smart contracts there, and combine public pools, but it gives us the privacy for shielding, unshielding, and so people are going to be able to do a lot of things in private, like trading and lending and all sorts of stuff. So that's coming up, and it's not too far away. A lot of that stuff in play, so it's kind of cool. The other thing I was going to say was we also had a lot of more sophistication. SwitchX with V4 has offered automation with concentrated liquidity, and I think that's exciting, right? All that stuff is super cool. And it makes the people that don't know much about liquidity, be smart, because the platform itself is set it up for you on automation. It's kind of cool. So very exciting stuff happening there. We obviously got a wallet boom upon us as well. So we obviously had Internet Money has been kind of the staple, about 120,000 plus users on that. It's pretty awesome, and grabbed the attention of some pretty big influencers too. Some of the top 100 definitely it caught their attention. And we've also got rollouts of Liberty Swap's ZKP wallet, which is pretty amazing. They're looking to put the code public within a year, I think, from launch. So that code will go public there as well. Obviously, we're still rolling out all the features with that, so we're going to get a lot of feature explosion, I suggest to you, and product explosion on the old wallet. It's going to have mobile, I think, within the next month or two, maybe next month, mobile. And also they're going to have a DeFi fiat on ramp as well. So that's going to be pretty exciting coming into the wallet. So I think it's going to get everything, and of course more stuff coming next month from them. So that is exciting. We've also got Cappy Wallet coming from Alex McFerder, and also we also got Ramp now. Bring their wallet as well. So they're kind of all Ravi wallet hybrids, but they're all being modified and advanced and made adaptable for Pulsechain. So you got prices and everything else, make it really easy, and multi-chain, right? So it's pretty cool. So we've got all that stuff happening. So we've got the DEXs, DEX aggregators, we've got the wallets all happening right now. And so we're going to be in very good stead for the future run. And so that's why I said we've got chain value is happening, and the price will follow accordingly in the future there. We're going to benefit from our own development and also from the macro development there from Tom Lee and Michael Saylor, Mr. Cole from Strive, and many others that are bringing capital from the debt and equity markets and mass adoption to the chain. So it's going to be pretty cool. You just got to be patient. There's not a trading perspective; it's a investment perspective. And so, you just don't expect to get your 5-10x tomorrow. You just got to wait out the time there. And if this is the bottom, then you celebrate later on. Celebrate then magic money. All right, so that's kind of the play. We've obviously got a lot of other things happening on the chain with a lot of the top stuff. So we're getting tokenization is coming next month. Obviously, we had output prediction markets with Hyperliquid technology hit Pulsechain this month with Liberty Swap. We're obviously getting spot and perpetuals are coming up. Now, they were targeting next month. I don't know whether they're going to do that because they had a poll about fiat on ramp there. So we'll see. They're going to use the base technology. So we'll see how that happens there. I think they should do the perpetuals, spot and perpetuals first, because it's going to bring us stocks and commodities. You're going to be able to buy those on Pulsechain and hold them in your wallet. You can obviously do it in other technologies like X stocks and Ondu and others, but that's kind of having on Pulsechain very cool. We keep up with the best stuff. I think it's just the biggest stuff right now, along with AI and digital ID, and so hopefully we get that happening sooner than later. I kind of feel like, I know it sounds kind of intuitive, but the fiat stuff could be a bit later, but we'll see what they decide. It's up to them at the end of the day. So we're getting all that, and we want to get more teams doing stuff like that, right? We want to get them all listed on all the Ethereum and Solana and Binance, all the other sites. We want to get track some of their users. We want to have some of the same incentive programs that these programs have. So there's a lot of stuff to think about there. But also with projects like Liberty Swap, they're bringing us Liberty Lend, so we're going to have lending. It's going to have privacy with that lending. You're going to be able to borrow and then go buy up a ton of assets. So we may get some players come in to buy up Pulsechain assets, and you wonder what happened, and next minute It's all gone up. Market makers and all sorts of stuff. So keep a lookout for that. And even Richard Hart himself, of course, could use those products, right? Those are the ones that allow him to do some stuff. All right, so kind of cool. You can't do it too big though, because I don't know how big the Pulsechain railway wallet contracts are, but you got to be, you can only do so much at some time. But we'll be watching that moving forward. All right, so some of the stuff there coming from them, they got so much stuff. We want to talk about that. Let's get into the charts and have a look at what's something happening here. Now, I did want to mention, just before we move on, is that we found out that Vault 369 order is complete, and so that's going to probably hit the market soon from Fast Abdul. I'm excited about that. As far as I know, that's going to be the first multi-chain, multi-collateral liquidity fork. And so that's exciting. It's going to have some of our other blue chips. So it's going to have Vouch, which is our public validator. They do basically, but it's a bit like Rocket Pool and Lido, but for Pulsechain. And we also have obviously another top one is Validator X plus X there from the good old Haunted there, if you guys remember liquid loan strategies back in the day. And that was exciting. It was exciting. It didn't turn out very well, but that was exciting. And so we've got all that happening in play, and they're going to be supported with the multi-chain liquidity swap. So that's another supply sink for them. Pretty cool. And more utilization, right, for stablecoin. So that's exciting. And obviously not just VPulse, but they're going to have ProveX from Richard Hart with the peer-to-peer ZK technology there as well. And of course, let's disintermediate centralized exchanges, get rid of the middleman. So that's still the vision of Pulsechain. Because other chains like Ethereum and stuff, they're still doing, digital ID, KYC, and things like that. So you still got that mirrored out there. Pulsechain's trying to do it different and be the full DeFi chain as much as possible, as much as you can. Now, obviously, you have to have mutable code and let it. Hopefully, it's designed so well it does its thing, as opposed to having DeFi leaders that you trust because they're respected. And there are respectable people out there, but it's not mutable, right? You want to have that. So non-custodial mutable code. That's the ideal there for the DeFi/freedom chain on Pulsechain. But once again, freedom chain implies that people are free to do what they want. So we'll see what happens there. All right, here we got X-Ray Vision in the house there. Hey, big shout out there, another Pulsechain influencer rocking it out there, doing some great streams, watching a stream on my stream. Keep up the alpha. I appreciate that, X-Ray Vision. A big shout out to you. If you guys haven't gone and followed X-Ray Vision, go check him out as well. Does regular videos, one of the regular Pulsechain influencers out there doing great content. All right, so let's jump into it. We got Firewell. So we know Firewell. He had an entrepreneurial attempt to set up gaming sites and referrals and things like that, Telegram trading bots. Fortunately, it didn't work out. Starting a business in the real world's tough, and it's certainly tough in crypto as well. So Firewell there on the move, 9.8% the last 24 hours. Pepe, we've seen a little bit of a move in Pepe, meme coin on Pulsechain. And we've seen that bounce off pretty much the last last week, let's say. And so that's come from 4 zeros 8,500, got all the way up to 3 zeros 1,700 there. So a pretty nice little move for the old Pepe coin. Now, obviously, nothing's financial advice, right? You guys know I just cover the markets on Pulsechain virtually every day. So do your own due diligence and so forth. But up 95%, and it's down a bit now, but not too bad there from the old Pepe. Now, it's not really meme season, is it? Memes aren't really moving. In fact, they're pretty lackluster because all the main things are happening with a lot of these tokenization, digital ID, and AI platforms. They're the ones that are winning right now. Intent-based trading, and of course, some of the specialty products like we said that Liberty Swaps brought to us, prediction outcome markets, and spots and perpetuals as well. So those are kind of the winning projects right now. There is a bit of a value chain. If you're in our strategy club, you'd get access to that because I'm going to be posting that today. So that's in Strategy Club. You can find the links if you want to join up to that. Just over $1 a day to join up, so pretty good value. I also pass in intel in there every single day, so check that out, what I think is important for the big picture, and some of the specialty projects as well. But I'll be doing a project by category in there, which is going to be pretty important for the bull market coming in there as well. So we got 00014. It's going to be real on Pepe, and so a nice little move there. Finvesta from the OG WebChef team. Now this is obviously OG WebChef's a printer ecosystem. It's speculative, can be volatile, so it's a bit like the radio. It still seems pretty legit. You can always sell your coins, so that's always a good start. Right? They've been around for a long time. They were a big category on Pulsechain a while back, and it's $1.05 now for that. So it's Finvesta, OG WebChef. Liberty up 6.5% right now. BBC from 9 inch, which is kind of deprecated, right? We saw that's only doing about 10K. It's got a lot of issues or controversial issues about them. And that's essentially, sitting there, but it's not really doing much anymore. Their BBC token, though, is up 5%. Source Mini Meal, surprise, 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 has been one of the leading rallies lately. And of course, this is the food specialist in Europe that does this super protein food that you only have to have a little bit and you can lose weight, basically, and you get all your healthy nutrients. So it is had a big rally. So I know they've been pumping this, but it's supposed to go to Solana, but it's still here on the old Pulsechain. We haven't seen a lot of buy and burn, but certainly looks like money's coming in the last couple of days because it's up pretty dramatically. In fact, it was up 65% in 8 days and is still up 56% here for Source Mini Meal. This chief executive is Wolfgang. There are a couple of Pulsechain German influencers out there, of course. Don't know how much they're streaming at the moment, but they were certainly streaming when the rollout of Source Mini Meal. And it is a superfood, so it is pretty unique out there, and it's probably almost not replicatable. They have special, production processes and everything else like that. They expanded their production. Remember, I think it was the end of last year, and so forth. So let's have a look at the weekly chart on this. You can see the chart there. The last 2 weeks, pretty impressive, and kind of just selling off. Not too much happening, but a nice move up there on the old Source Mini Meal. I'm not sure whether they normally do like weekly updates on YouTube. So you can go check them out, but it's in German in the Deutschlander. So I used to try and listen to it, but it was getting pretty difficult with the old translator. Pretty difficult. But that is Source Mini Meal there. All right. It's still here. It's still here. We obviously got some of the Richard cores there. Pulsex at number 7, up 4%. Incentive token up 3.5%. Gizmo, kind of a specialty project there, 3%. Payment, which is another PDI project. If you want to know PDI, one of the reasons why PDI has so much volume relative to other tokens, always in the $100,000 camp, is because they have a lot of projects supporting it as well, right? So Payment there is up 2.9%. Let's have a look at that chart right now. I'm not, obviously not endorsing any of these projects. You have to do your own due diligence, but it's sitting at 5.1 cents right now, so it's not too bad. Obviously sold off from that mega rally. I hope some of you enjoyed that mega rally, but I hope you sold the top. Now, this is kind of, when you start seeing this thing in the chart, then you know it's rolling over, right? So it's got this, you had a big rally like that, right? Comes down, has a little second top there, that's the rollover, right? So you should get out by then, right? You've got a RSI is helpful too, if you've got the RSI there. And then down you go, which is what I did, right? Right. So what else we got going there? So that's pretty much it right now. So top 10. So some standouts there. I guess Pepe, kind of a little bit of a standout there. Source Mini Meal, bit of a standout there. And some of the Richard cores, some of the peers at least for the Richard cores, up there in the top 10. All right, and Payment. Let's not forget Payment there. All right, so moving down, we're not going to go through the rest of this because it's obviously just slightly up, 2% gain. So I'm not going to go through all those. Some honorable mentions will be Peacock, of course, with the Liberty Swap is the official token that's back over 1 cent. Seems to be holding that right now. Liquidity is getting quite thick though. There's a lot of projects tied into Peacock, and also SwitchX is Liberty Swap itself with their Liberty pools. That's the V3 pools also thickened up that liquidity. So that will dampen down, all things equal, the move of Peacock relative to larger players. It certainly helps larger players move in, and that will depend on, I guess, product rollouts and the next big product rollout we're expecting with spots and perpetuals with Hyperliquid technology next month. We'll see whether that takes precedent or still coming out, or whether they're going to move the decentralized fiat on ramp and ahead of that, let's say. So we'll keep a lookout for that. Almost stuttering, aren't I? Almost stuttering there. But that's up 1.8% today. The other big thing is there are quite a few large holders there. I would say, good couple are PDI bros. So they got some of those Peacock holders in the page one, also holding different PDI bags, but they all seem pretty stable. The page one holders there, Peacock there, looking pretty stable. About 2 months ago, a couple of them on page 1 and 2 sold out. But apart from that, you got to get redistribution in play. And it's got also the buy and burn, right? They've moved to buy and burns on the old Peacock. And so far, about 300,000 Peacock has been burnt off the total supply. Now they're using pump ties to do the burn. So they're down to, that doesn't include the 15.4% they've already burned. So it's starting to take off. So we're going to be watching that because I think it's pretty interesting, right? So that's kind of cool. Keep watching out for that. Let's jump down. Vouch, of course, from the public validator. Only up 1.3% there from Jexa. Jexa's a pretty smart dude, and Voucher offers that sort of rocket pool and Lido opportunity there. We're going to scroll all the way down here. We're going to go, obviously there's quite a few green. So we've got on the top 100 trending here on Dick Screener, we've got 63 that are green. And they're all pretty similar to Pulse. So Pulse was slightly green, wasn't it? So they're all mostly similar to Pulse. Some of the ones that have really been hit today, RH Pepe, a recent meme coin, down 16% right now. So we'll have a quick look at that. Obviously not financial advice. We're just having a look at what's really selling off this time. So it's down a little bit today, but still holding up pretty well. Obviously it needs to find some support here, certainly at 001, I would say. So don't really want to go down there, but it's a meme coin, and they're not really in fashion too much. Pulsechain they are because it's a small retail plays, so you got to take into account the small small ecosystem. Most of the charts on Pulsechain are retail plays. We have very few charts that are over $100,000 volume per day, and we're generally only pulses over $1 million. And typically, it's like 2 million or so. But occasionally, if we quadruple this value to like 10 million instead of 2.5 million, then we start getting 3 or 4 charts that go to $1 million, and then we may get to 10 million. We might get up to 20 that are doing over 100K turnover. So obviously, the volume per day is very important there. A week or two back we were getting those sort of volumes, right, which also makes it more profitable for the DEXs and DEX aggregators, right, and also encourages more LP to come in. We've got a lot of idle tokens and value on the chain that's not in LP, and of course you've got to take into account impermanent loss and other things in there, and sentiment and all the rest of it, and knowledge, people's knowledge of how to use that as well. All right, so that's kind of play. What else we saw? We saw Rack and Michelle. His product here, Coin Mafia, that's down pretty dramatically, 15%, 14K volume there. And we're expecting 2,000 or 3,000 validators to come in. They already got 2,000 as we understand it. I don't think we've lost a couple of thousand. I'm not sure if that's them. I haven't been looking for any analysis about that, but crypto solvers, people like that typically talk about things like that. We're at $1.98 right now, so we definitely got it sold off in the last 2 days. Got rejected there at about $2.53. So we'll keep looking out for those validators. Liquid loans, or as people like to say, liquid loans. You guys know our third biggest sacrifice that we had on Pulsechain, $52 million, and there's 30K liquidity in the main pair here. So we're going to leave it at that. We're down a couple of days on that chart, but it had a little rally. Can't take that away. And as we know, really the only blue chip that I'm aware of. So I think there's about 15 blue chips on Pulsechain, and one of those, of course. They would include the liquidity forks, as the DEX aggregators, public validators, those sort of things. Is that most of them won't move until Pulse moves, right? Until Pulse gets an uptrend and the volumes start to move back up on the trading, then that's when the market will reprice a lot of those projects. But until that point, we had a nice little rally, the 120% on our liquid loans. And recently, obviously sold down from there, but that was kind of cool. Smog, of course, is part of a reflection token ecosystem with Opus and another token. That's the reflection part. The other two are printers. That's down 6% today. Staked ETH, which has often been at the top, that's down 6%. And I've said 9mm, which is already kind of front running. It's one of the blue chips that are front running the kind of Pulsechain reversal. You can sort of see it's kind of been happening since March the 16th on the US dollar, but on the Pulse ratio, it's been happening, obviously much further than that since Pulse has been down, and it's been, going all the way back since October there. And so this is looking good to the upside. They pay out their profits every month. The more volumes we have, the more money they make. So that's the other positive. That's why we get that big uptrend there on the old blue chips. All right, picking a blue chip strategy could be really cool in the future. Maybe it's next month. I don't know. So once we get break that Pulsechain chart, keep a look out for these blue chips and see whether the market re-rates them, as I suggest they will, which is what we often see. Makes a lot of sense, right? Volumes up, fees are up, prices down. Too cheap, gets more valuable. That's kind of the idea. All right, so that is where we are on the chains. Let's go have a quick look at the not the Crypto Night Show, but if you haven't followed this Crypto Night Show on X, don't forget to smash the follow. We're rebuilding the channel. As you guys know, my other channel got taken down for no good reason. So rebuilding, you guys make it possible. Pulsechain's largest Pulsechain influencer doing essentially daily shows, unless I'm ill or away on vacation. And so over 6 years now. So covering Hex all the way through to Pulsechain, of course. Hex OG. Remember the fun days of Richard Hart with his top hat? all the way through the first day of the AA lobby, all the way through to the big payday, all the way through to the Hex rally, 13 parabolics, and all the way through the sacrifice sets for Pulsechain and Pulsex, watching liquid loans, many other ones go launch, all that money get raised, unbelievable. All the people are around, and now we've been in the bear market with the SEC, and now here we are trying to find the bottom and on the road to glory, right? So there will be a glory road. We're still in that camp. Believing that Richard's glory travel is going to play out. And at the moment, you can pick up so much pulse, you will become a pulse king. What used to cost $85,000 for a billion pulse will now only cost you, $6,600 or $6,700. So the world has changed, and the diamond hands may very well be rewarded if they are accumulating as well. We did have an interesting, I think it was Tiger Crypto God the other day. I think he said, he used to have a smaller portfolio in Pulse, and now it's much bigger. So, this should show you things if you're hustling, if you're accumulating, and then things could be pretty glorious moving forward. All right, so that's kind of cool. Let's quickly go to Liberty Swap. I think we had some. Let's quickly check Brandon from SwitchX. Fine. These are kind of the teams that have been rolling out a lot of the big stuff lately. And you can see some of the cool stuff there from Brandon around SwitchX Fine with some of the top tokens that are running at the moment. Very, very cool. Very impressed by that product. Obviously, tokenomics have to play out a little bit. Whenever you've got a whole new token supply to incentivize, it's got to play out over particularly the first year. We'll see what happens to the price. The price has definitely consolidated, I think just over half a penny. So we're watching that over the inflation period, particularly in the first 3 to 9 months. And then within the first 3 months, remember, the Treasury, essentially, they ran when you burn 15 million tokens for controlling influence, does decrease particularly over the first 3 months. So that's also going to change the ship there as some of the big farmers get more and more V-switch to control the profit sharing, right? Profit sharing, by my count, is running at about 20% at the moment. So if you're sitting on V-switch, running about 20% a year. So obviously, as volumes lift, as fees lift, that can all increase. There's a lot of degradation curves as well. So keep a lookout for that. It's going to be an interesting project. But the technology itself, beautiful there with automated concentrated liquidity, offering some pretty high yields on SwitchX Fine. What else? Let's go to Liberty Stock quickly. So these are a lot of the big teams, the blue chip teams that have been rolling out a lot of stuff. So that's why we follow that. That's why we cover them so much. We obviously cover the medium and small teams as well from time to time, depending on what they're doing. Obviously, we cover the medium teams I consider like farms, like Kairos and Emmett Farm, True Farm from Daniel and Neil, and teams like that, kind of the medium size. And then we got a lot of small niche players like Nuclear Supply and teams like that, Rhinify, all offering great tokenomics, but definitely on the smaller side things, but always value to be had in well set up teams, right? All right, so let's scroll down here a little bit more. We're going to get into the night there. I want to say something I really like saying, and I don't know if you guys do, but I've really enjoyed it. Let me just see how far back we're going down here. We're going to scroll back up here. So, interesting Liberty Swap here talking about the Ethereum Foundation may gradually scale down its presence operations. Well, I've already covered that, right? Tom Lee is taking the leadership there, and the foundation is really going to focus on developing the DeFi future for the Ethereum there, supported by the leadership and no doubt funds from the digital asset treasury. So that's kind of answered that to some degree. I think one insight will be that they will be trying to influence the upgrading features to make sure that matches the big institutions and mass adoption that's coming through their products. Arguably, I'm sure that influence will be playing out in some chats. So it won't just be all the geeks there trying to geek out with Vitalik about the visions of the future. We shall watch how that plays out as leadership switches from Ethereum Foundation to digital asset treasuries. So early days. Or the Liberty Stock says always needs a funding mechanism. Well, obviously the debt's there coming into play there, and using staking rewards from 5% supply fund is a must. Yeah, well that's already in place. So kind of cool. Let's jump up here. It's great seeing Crypto Coffee, obviously arguably our largest Pulsechain influencer out there. Of course, Somi's out there too. He's pretty big. But MetaMask is predatory, so he's been doing a lot of great videos. Really been appreciating his format and style there. Doing a great job there. Now, obviously, in-wallet swaps, the ZKX wallet on an EVM chain are coming. So exciting there. So in-wallet swaps, very cool. Now, this whole wallet's going to be integrated very soon with all their products and some of the leading products in crypto DeFi. are coming. They're going to be powered by CowSwap and Batius, so a lot of intent-based trading, as well as Batius Dex Aggregator, which showed early support for Liberty pools. We can only collect 0.1% front-end fee, not 0.75. I guess maybe Crypto Coffee alluded to that. I'm not sure in the video. I haven't actually watched that particular video. But every fee collected is converted to Peacock buyback and burn. So we're expecting that to accelerate this, go from tens of thousands of Peacock bought and burned 4 times a day, potentially into the hundreds of thousands. I'm not sure if it will get to the millions, but it will just depend on scaling of the business rate and the perspective that Liberty Swap takes about that. They're obviously doing a 3-month trial, at least for full buy and burn. So we're watching that. But so far, I've been impressed with what I've seen so far. All right, so that's kind of cool. Let's see what else we got going here. So Liberty on-ramp, off-ramp, all fees. So this was the vote here. I'm a little disappointed because obviously I think Liberty perps are the play to go right now. I would rather go with that right now. But hey, look, the market's spoken, and they've got Liberty on-ramp, off-ramp. Now, I don't know whether that means that they're just going to defer Liberty perps to August. We're quite early now, and the rage is all on. Even though we've had the Black Swan event with the Bitcoin, I still think getting in early is better. And so, I hope that if they're going to do both, that'd be cool. Pushing Liberty perps another month is a little bit, not as cool. All right, time in crypto. You know how just getting the big stuff out, rolling out, because then that way people on Pulsechain, will get more into stocks and ETFs and things like that. Remember, stocks offer you a whole new access to all the technology stocks, all the indexes, ETFs, and things like that. So a lot more variety of options there that people can participate. Hopefully, as a net capital add, right, to the Pulsechain there. All right, so that is some of the stuff going on there. We will have a busy July, August, September, November. So obviously they're going to be rolling out pretty much blue chip products all the way. These guys have got big plans to build out the ultimate ecosystem. So we're excited about where that's heading. Now, another cool thing, we talk about Crypto Coffee doing these cool videos. Well, I like that format, but we also got $10 here. We've got getting more people, more influencers. There's at least a couple that I've seen so far that are doing videos on. So they've set up a wallet, ZKP wallet, and then they've set up little accounts, demo accounts, some bigger than others, but they're just sort of showcasing all the features as it gets bigger and bigger, which I think is great. $10 here does this thing for Peacock where he acquires a bit more Peacock, and he's got up to 24,369 Peacock right now, which is kind of cool. It's a small demo, but it's kind of cool. It's can be quite useful for getting onboarding going and the network effect. I kind of like that. What else? So 4 hours ago this year, native Pulsechain Railgun is a must. So that's very exciting there. Is a must. Pulsechain private DeFi is the future of crypto trading. Get your native Pulsechain assets ready. We have a few things that need to peg to $1. Obviously, they hype up the peg to $1, but we will see assets go to $1. Just got to make sure you're holding the right ones. So keep in the know there. And Liberty Swap, quite reasonable that it could get to $1. I mean, it's 1 cent now. So 100x, yeah, of course, quite doable, especially with an ecosystem like theirs and their buy and burn support. And if they've got a lot of diamond hands on that first page, onwards and upwards there. Now, we still haven't heard much from Coin Marketplace, where they pretty much complied with everything. We haven't heard from that because that could be a big catalyst as they move from being ranked on 24-hour volume to market cap. We haven't seen anything from Liberty Swap about that, and so that would re-rate them dramatically from about 4,300 last time we saw into the top 1,000 potentially. So we'll see what happens in all that front there. Lots of different catalysts that can lift value and demand for stuff. So kind of cool. All right, so that is from them. I don't know if they've got anything else in there. Have they got anything else about that? Got evil face there. So question, they are sitting, they're definitely building out a lot there. Who's the financial backer? I guess is a big question because they seem to do things that require pretty good capital and a pretty smart team, right? The beauty of Pulsechain lies in its permissionless design. Obviously, they're keen on all those values that we have: decentralization, privacy, liberty, and freedom. So these echo, what we like, and also the founding fathers of the United States, as well as Richard Hart, of course. So kind of cool, like that. What else we got going here? Let's, $10 doing some nice stuff with visual dashboards. We'll be looking for that too, particularly for the hypermarkets that Liberty Swap launched with the Hyperliquid and doing prediction outcome markets for the World Cup, which was a good timing. Something big is coming to Liberty Shield and Liberty Private Swap. We're going to make Pulsechain the capital of private DeFi. So we should get a big scaling of those assets. At the moment, I think it's ETH and USDC, I think, are the supported assets at the moment. Almost there, they say. So a tornado to railgun. It's inevitable. However, this one is also cool, very cool. So keep a look out for that. This is big. This is huge. So these guys obviously continue to roll out a lot of blue chip features and products, and it's going to be a fun ride. I think that's pretty much it, right? All right, so that's kind of cool from LibertySwap. Now, finally, we're going to go Fast Abdul. It'll be my last update. We will end up with the fast update from Fast Abdul. I'm not sure whether he's been giving us anything around the queues here for Vault 369, which we're expecting to launch. Remember, that's multi-chain, multi-collateral fork. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Yeah, nothing there. He's been reposting a lot of influences, which is kind of cool. Now, I did enjoy the live from Hive with Wild SJ. We've got the Captain RG3 in there and another community member behind. So that's been pretty cool. They're expanding to all 50 states from the looks of it. So they had 18 last count, but they've put a big reach out there to distribute Pulsechain promo tabs. Now, obviously, we're getting into the millions of tabs, I guess, promotion tablets. And people have been doing all sorts of things, handing them out at restaurants, going to Italy, handing them down at the markets. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff we've been seeing happen with these guys. Lots of people have been really lifting up that flame, as it were, and spreading the tablets far and wide. And hopefully that's going to have an impact over time. All right, so that is kind of cool with the old Pulsechain. We'll be waiting for Fast Abdul and his products, and so we're looking forward to that too. So that's an hour and 35 minutes, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I certainly enjoyed talking about all that cool stuff. And you can see from an investment point of view, not traders necessarily, because obviously markets are trying to find the bottom here. Hopefully we're there. But we've got a transformational phase happening. It's going to probably be a 10-year phase, but a lot of that mega upside definitely within the next 6 to 24 months is about to roll out. It's going to be truly glorious and exciting times ahead. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. I'll catch you again tomorrow. Don't forget to subscribe, smash the follow on X, and hit the repost button on X, and pump your own bags, as it were. Onwards and upwards from there. All right, take care, and bye for now. Should I go to the wardrobe and put on an outfit? Probably.